All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is Daily Vlog 2025, number 106. And today, we got big news again. Yesterday, we had big news. I need a drink. Hold on a second. Come on. Stay. All right, so sorry. Okay, so yesterday we had big news involving Essence to the 20 because they announced the Welcome to Night Vale actually has a release date, and it's looking like it's going to be August 20 to 25, so just a few months away. Today, Wizards of the Coast put out a tweet announcing the new SRD 5.2. For anyone who is not familiar with the SRD is, or what an SRD is in general, and why this is important, SRD stands for System Reference Document, and it is basically the kind of generic base version of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. The reason it matters is a few years ago, a journalist decided to make up some shit to try and make Wizards of the Coast look bad. A bunch of D&D YouTubers clung on to that complete made-up nonsense, and it turned into this massive debacle around this thing called the OGL, the Open Game License. The Open Game License was actually something that started with D&D 3rd Edition, and it was something that had never happened in the world of tabletop RPGs. Wizards of the Coast released a version of Dungeons and Dragons 3rd Edition that you were legally allowed to use to make your own tabletop RPGs. And it changed the world of tabletop RPGs completely. The kind of entire realm of games that came out of that eventually were eventually called D20 licensed games. And things like Pathfinder was one of the results of that. But it was one of the things that created this kind of boom in the TTRPG world, because now you didn't have to come up with your own completely own system. You could piggyback your stuff on Dungeons and Dragons 3rd Edition, which was the most popular tabletop RPG on the market, and had, at that point, 25, 26 years of experience going into it to create this game. So that was really, really cool. Fast forward to 2020, or 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. They updated the OGL, which the Open Game License was the actual official license that you had to agree to if you were going to use that. And then the SRD, the System Reference Document, were the actual rules. So they're technically two different documents. Fast forward to 2023, again, due to a lot of misinformation and bad faith takes and stuff like that, people got it into their head that the OGL was going to change and all of this other stuff was going to happen. And it turned into what was called the OGL debacle, or what I refer to as the OGL debacle. And the reason so many people were up in arms was when 5th edition came out in 2014, or it came out in 2014. I can't remember if the SRD was updated in 2014 or 2015. It's been a while. But they released an SRD, and people started using it the same way that they used the 3rd edition SRD. If you're wondering why I'm not talking about the 4th edition SRD, it's because it was fucked up. There was, I have the 4th edition SRD on my computer. It sucks. And they didn't have an OGL for the 4th edition. They had another license you could use, but it was extremely limiting. And 4th edition in and of itself, if you wanted to make a 4th edition compatible thing, you needed access to more than what the SRD gave you. So nothing really happened during 4th edition. But because there was there was the OGL and the SRD for 5th edition, a lot of people used it to create their own 5th edition compatible stuff. The launch of the DMs Guild allowed creators to not only publish stuff using the SRD, but it also, as long as you published it on the DMs Guild, it actually gave you access to significantly more of the Dungeons and Dragons IP. You just had to agree to release it exclusively on the DMs Guild. And so that created this entire new thing. Then 2023 comes around, and by that point, it wasn't just people making TTRPGs. There was, there still is a video game that used the SRD to basically create D&D the video game before Baldur's Gate 3 fully released, and it's a phenomenal game that I can never remember the title of. Starts with an S. Brain just doesn't like me. But anyway, so it was being used for significantly more than Wizards of the Coast had ever kind of intended for it to be used, and so they started tossing around the idea of, well, let's modify this so that we have a little bit more control. And one of the ideas that was thrown around was the idea of, well, this is a license. Literally every other license that exists in the world involves payment of some sort. We've put all of this work into this. We should get paid for it. And so they were floating the idea of finding ways to monetize people using the license. None of that ever went through. None of that. The fun thing that a lot of people will completely forget, by the time the document was released, the document itself was well over a month old, and all of the monetization aspects of it had already been taken out. And we got confirmation of this directly from Wizards of the Coast, and the fact that they were able to publish in less than a week, they were able to publish a different version of it that didn't have any of the monetization aspects. You can't modify a document in less than a week. Not a legal document. It doesn't work that way. So it was already gone before everything got leaked. It was all this massive thing. So fast forward like a month or two, in order to deal with all of this nonsense and kind of cut all of the bad faith actors off at the pass, Wizards of the Coast decided, instead of using the open game license, which they had been using against for, over 20 years at that point, they were going to release the new version of the 5th edition SRD under Creative Commons. If you're not familiar with that, Creative Commons is an actual copywritten license, and it's owned by a nonprofit. I believe called the Creative Commons or something akin to that. I can never remember what they're called. But it's an actual copyright license. However, the thing with Creative Commons is it is designed to encourage creativity, we're the creative part, and to encourage everyone to be able to use it as much as they can. That's where the commons comes from. And so, by releasing the 5.1 SRD into the Creative Commons, Wizards of the Coast no longer had access to the license that is utilized to create 5th edition compatible content. What I mean by that is the OGL, their lawyers wrote the OGL. They owned the OGL. So if they wanted to modify it, they could, because it was their property. Legal documents can be copywritten as well. So that particular contract, because they owned it, they could change it whenever they wanted to. They do not own Creative Commons, and Creative Commons has very, very specific rules about what you can and can't do once you release something with a Creative Commons license. The most important of that is, once a document has been released under Creative Commons, that license can never be revoked. You can never take something out of Creative Commons. You can update the license, because the nonprofit is constantly... or not constantly, but regularly rewriting the license to deal with changes in copyright law and stuff like that, to ensure that the license continues to be the kind of free expression ideal that it is. And so you can update the Creative Commons, a document that already has a Creative Commons license. You can update it to the newer license, but you can't update it to an older license. And there's multiple versions of Creative Commons licenses. The most basic is just a Creative Commons license, where you still own the copyright to it, but anyone can use it for whatever reason. And then you have different caveats you can put on to it that you can mix and match. One of them is attribution. Anyone can use this, but they were required to put some sort of attribution on it, saying that, hey, this stuff I used from this Creative Commons document. There's another one that specifically says no monetization. So you can use my stuff, but you're not allowed to monetize it. So you can do anything you want for free, but if you want to monetize it, you have to contact me. Because again, just because the document is in the Creative Commons does not mean that they can't get license someone else to that document under different terms. Again, the whole point of Creative Commons is you still own the copyright on that document. It's not public domain where there's no control over it and anyone can do anything they want with it. So in the instance that somebody releases something with a no monetization Creative Commons license, you can contact them and go, hey, I've got a really cool idea for this thing, but I want to be able to sell it. And they can give you or they can sell you or give you or whatever a specific license that allows you to monetize your version of it, but it won't be covered under Creative Commons. It'll be a completely different license. And then the last one, if I remember correctly, is no derivatives. I'm going to look this up before I just want to, before I say the last thing. So the basic one is CC BY, which is your just regular one. CC BY SA, which is adaptations have to have the same license on them, which basically means if I use a CC BY SA, it means if you release something under using my stuff, yours also has to be CC BY SA. You are not allowed to make it like non-commercial or make it just a standard CC BY. CC BY NC is non-commercial, and then CC BY ND, which is basically no derivatives. You can repurpose this however you want, but you're not allowed to publish derivatives of this. You're not allowed to use this document to create your own thing. And so with a combination of non-commercial, same adaptation, and non-derivative, you can mix and match every single one. You can mix and match every single one. So you can have like non-commercial SA, or same adaptation. I don't like using SA. You can have non-commercial, no derivatives, stuff like that. You can mix and match over and over and over again. So the one that Wizards of the Coast released 5.1 under is a CC BY. Which is the attribution one. Did I not see that? I guess BY is just everything has to be, credit has to be given to the creator. Do they no longer have a non-credit one? Oh, I think that's the CCO. Yeah. So anyway, the one that maybe it was earlier versions of the CC licenses had the attribution one that was an attribution grant. Anyway, so the one that the 5.1 is published under is the one that requires attribution. So you can use anything in the 5.1 SRD for whatever you want. You can monetize it, you can change it, you can do whatever you want. However, you have to attribute it back to Wizards of the Coast. So, getting back to the big news for today, they have announced that on August 22nd, 15 minutes into the damn video, on August 22nd, they're releasing the 5.2 SRD into the Creative Commons. They specifically say on their page, which I'll have linked in the description for you to be able to read it yourself. The 5.1 is still going to exist because, again, the way that Creative Commons works is even if they update the document, the old document has to still exist there because it was released under the Creative Commons. They can update the document like they're doing now. Now they have 5.2, but that's going to be a completely separate document. They can't erase something that's already in the Creative Commons. So yeah, next Tuesday, we're going to be able to see what the 5.2 is. My understanding is the reason it took this long for them to get 5.2 out, since it's been almost a year since the 5.5 update for 5th edition came out, is because they had to add in the stuff from the Dungeon Master's Guide and the stuff from the new Monster Manual, so that you basically have the entirety of D&D in this one little document. Now, they do make mention of a differentiation between the SRD and what's referred to as the D&D Beyond basic rules. When 5th edition Verse launched, there was a free version, effectively, that they called the basic rules. And it was really, really great because it meant that you could play D&D 5th edition without paying a cent. And it basically came with every single class, I think most of the spells, and then one subclass for every single class. So it wasn't enough to be, crazy, but you still could play just about everything. When 5.5 came out, they introduced what was called the free rules, which was really, really bare bones. It only had 4 classes in there. Each class only had 1 subclass. They're going to be replacing that with the new D&D Beyond basic rules, which should be effectively the 5.5 version of what came out originally with D&D 5th edition. However, the basic rules are not the SRD. There are differences. So if you are creating your own stuff, make sure anything that you're referencing exists in the SRD, because if it only exists in the basic rules still have a standard copyright, which basically means you can't use any of this unless you get their direct permission. It's not in the Creative Commons. There is no OGL or anything for the basic rules. That is still 100% copywritten by Wizards of the Coast. Now, there's a lot of stuff that shows up in both of them. But anything that shows up in the SRD, that is covered under Creative Commons. Anything that only shows up in the basic rules, that is not, you can't use it. And that probably means the basic rules are going to have some things in them that they consider their product identity. Product identity is a copyright term, or an intellectual property right term, that basically means this particular item is so identifiable with our brand that it is impossible to look at it and not always see our brand. So things like beholders, owl bears, and the ampersand, the specific design of the ampersand where it's an ampersand with a dragon, that is all considered product identity, and is not only copywritten, but I believe is trademarked, which, if anyone is unaware, copyright law is like baby mode when you look at trademark law. Trademark law is extremely cutthroat. It is breaking copyright law can get you a slap on the wrist, and if you do a lot of it, you might get a fine. Breaking trademark law can get you prison time. Like, it's real bad. You have to do a lot of trademark violation in order to get prison time. But it's significantly stronger protection, and it actually requires trademark law requires that if a company that has a trademark notices someone using their trademark, they're required by law to sue them into oblivion. They're not allowed to simply ignore it. Whereas with copyright law, companies can ignore, fan games and stuff like that because copyright is not that exclusive. Trademark is basically telling the government, hey, this thing is so important to our company that if anyone else uses it at all, they will be able to fake that they belong to our company. And so we can't allow anyone to use this at all. Whereas copyright is basically just, I made this and I should own it. So anyway, this is really big news in general for the TTRPG community. We've been waiting for the 5.2 SRD to drop so that people can start making 5.5 compatible stuff. They've also mentioned that they are going to have a conversion guide to basically guide people in converting their 5.0 content that they've already published into 5.5 compatible stuff. So that should be useful. Wizards of the Coast, because the OGL debacle and a couple other kind of bad faith takes that have happened over the years, Wizards of the Coast has lost a lot of the good faith that people have kind of given it for years. And Hasbro, in and of itself, has done itself no favors in some of the stupid things that they've done recently. So, the release of the 5.2 into Creative Commons could start the process of 5th edition getting bigger and bigger and bigger again. Because as one of the D&D creators that I actually enjoy did a video talking about people making kind of third-party D&D content and Kickstarters and all that stuff, and he was able to show that over the last year-ish, there's been a drop in the amount of money raised and the number of projects funded for D&D 5th edition compatible products. And one of the theories that was kind of tossed around is, yeah, it's because 5.5 is coming out and nobody wanted to create something and spend all of this time and effort creating it and kickstarting it just to find out that now they have to put all this extra effort in to make it compatible with the newest version if everybody likes it. So theoretically, with the release of the 5.2 SRD, we might see that uptick again. However, at the same time, 5.5 has not been received very well. Lukewarm would probably be the best description of the response to it, because I think everybody I know that has looked at it has found at least one thing that they're like, hey, I really like this. But at the same time, everybody has found a lot of other things that are like, you know what, I don't like this. It feels, it feels underdeveloped. It feels like it gets rid of things that I really, really enjoyed in the base version. So 5.5 was not universally praised in any way, shape, or form. So having a 5.2 errata might not really, or not errata, SRD, might not really change a whole lot. People are not really enjoying 5.2. At the same time, releasing the 5.2 SRD, especially if it has new stuff like the weapon masteries and things like that, might cause what happens a lot of times with PC games. When a game is launched in a really, really buggy and unplayable state, modders come in. If the game has a big enough fan base, modders will come in and fix the game. So it's very, very possible that the 5.2 SRD will be the catalyst that gets homebrewers and third-party developers the tools that they need to actually fix the problems with 5th edition, specifically with 5.5. Again, I don't think 5.5 was a horrible, disgusting thing that ruined the game. I think it was pushed out way too fast, and too many of the things in 5.5 are just either really underdeveloped or were bad ideas that they didn't playtest enough to realize that, no, we don't want to do this. So now with the collective power of the internet and the homebrewers, we might get a version of 5.5 that's really good. People might come up with another dozen weapon masteries to make them actually useful and modify the weapon masteries that do exist that are mostly useless into something fun. And not only be able to publish that, but the really important part about the SRD since its inception has not just been, oh, you're allowed to publish content. You're allowed to sell content. And that's the really big issue here is, yeah, it's great to have people that are so passionate about something that they're willing to do a lot of work for free. But people like that are extremely rare. And even if they do decide, hey, I want to put a lot of effort into this and, create something without getting any payment whatsoever, there's a very, very good chance they're not going to be able to do that for very long. Again, game design is difficult. It requires a very specific skill set. And a lot of times it requires, the vast majority of the things that are homebrewed have to be play tested by dozens of people in order to work all the kinks out. Game development is not cheap. And yeah, for a really, really long time, people were creating D&D content for free because they literally they weren't allowed to sell it. And as soon as the OGO came around and people were allowed to sell it, it changed the TTRPG community as a whole. And so, yeah, 5.2 being able to monetize and modify 5.5 now might be exactly what the doctor ordered, or it might not. We don't know. I can say, as soon as it drops, well, maybe not as soon as probably within a few months of the 5.2 SRD dropping, we are going to see a lot of homebrew stuff coming up on things like the DM's Guild, Drive-Thru RPG, and Itch.io, all these other places that are going to start manipulating and modifying 5.5 into a lot of different things. And I think that's a really good thing. Solasta, that's what it's called. Solasta, Crown of the Magister. That's the game that used the 5th edition SRD to make a video game. I'm excited about this. Again, I am, at this point, I'm kind of burnt out on D&D in general because I've been playing D&D extensively for over a decade. Playing one edition of D&D extensively for over a decade. I love it. It's a great game, but I'm looking for other stuff. It's the reason that I do Essence 20 stuff here. It's the reason that every December I pick a new TTRPG to play around with. It's the reason I just did an in-depth review for Fabula Ultima. I like looking at new stuff. So I'll be interested to see where the SRD 5.2 goes. Interested to hear from you guys. What are your opinions on the SRD 5.2, despite the fact that you haven't seen it yet? What are your opinions on D&D in general? Let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, again, it's all for me today. I'll see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.